Hi, welcome to the Small Shed. This week I want to address some of the reasons why I can't build a cycle cart and how I'm getting over them. See you in a minute. Now, with most things in life, I find there are sort of two kinds of people. You get folks that will never do anything because they've always got a dozen good reasons why they can't do them. And you've got the folks that will just get on and do things despite the fact that they can't do them for a number of reasons. And I think I'm hoping I fall into that second category. What do you need for a cycle cart? Well, you obviously need some money. They can't be built for absolutely nothing. But what surprised me about this is that when I was talking to some of the UK cycle cart guys, they were throwing around figures of £500–600 as being possible to be able to do it with second-hand bits and things like that. So whilst it's not a small amount of money, it's relatively, in any sort of motorsport, it's quite an inexpensive start. So it is possible to do it for less than I'm doing it for. But the other complications are that you haven't got facilities, you haven't got a workshop, you haven't got anything to be able to transport it with, and so on, lots of things like that. So I'm just going to have a look at a few of those things today, and just sort of show how I've gone through in my mind how I get around the problems I've got. So we start off with, I haven't got the facilities, and by that I mean I can't weld. And it would appear to be reasonably important that you would have to, with looking at most of the cycle cart videos. But the original concept was for two metal rails basically bonded to a plywood tub, so that's not really a justifiable excuse. I'm getting around it in a slightly different way. I'm using aluminium framing and I'm going to bolt it together, and I hope that will work. I don't know whether it will or not, but there are ways around these things if you want to work around it. The shed isn't big enough to work in. Well, that's a given, but again, you can work outside. We're actually into October in the UK here. It's quite a nice sunny day, so I shall be actually doing some work outside in a minute because there isn't really room in the garage at the moment. But that was the main thing that I'm going to go and have a look at now and show you what I'm doing to get around the problem I've got, that I've got nowhere to put the thing in the first place. Right, I've got a bit of not so much of a problem as an inconvenience. I want to get on and get a final sort of thought process going on the layout and cockpit sizes and everything on the cycle cart today. Well, as you can see, I've finally got the garage habitable and moved in the Morgan replica that has been out on the drive. So I haven't got the space that I used to have to be able to work on it, and so I'm just going to decant elsewhere. I'll probably find room in the conservatory or something. But that does beg the question, how the hell am I going to get a cycle cart in here to build as well, because there's just not the room in here now. About 6 months ago I was having to build a large bunk bed for my grandson, and that was using 8x4 sheets of MDF 3/4 inch thick, and all of that pretty much was either built just outside under the overhang, and in here it was painted. So I can do it. What it means is I've got to build myself effectively a staging to go over Hetty, the three-wheeler, and that will give me a working platform on which I can put the cart. It's fairly straightforward. I have done it before, and just put a bearer down on the floor with uprights on, and then we'll just put a platform across, and that will give me a temporary cover while this is getting the engine rebuilt, which is the next big job on this one. And until I get a coat of paint on this, it doesn't matter too much if it gets a bit knocked or anything. It's pretty poor at the moment in terms of finish. It wants a respray, so I'm not going to lose a lot of sleep if I do something that causes a problem. And there is enough room there, it is about right, to be able to build myself my cycle cart at this height. A lot of the stuff anyway, chassis fabrication, that sort of thing. There will come a point when it's clearly too heavy, and at that point, well, I'll have to either roll this out temporarily, work on the cycle cart, roll that out. There is a covered area 8 foot long just under the front of the garage. And then finally there's the problem of transport. Now, I haven't got a trailer. One of the first things I want to try is to see if I can get the cycle cart inside my car. I've got a reasonably big car, but I think it's probably not going to be possible, but I shall try that first. Now I've got sort of somewhere to build it. I've got somewhere sort of to store it. The only unresolved thing to think about before I get too deeply in is how to transport the damn thing. I could hire a van, which is the simplest solution, but it would mean that it's costing you 100 quid or so before you start every time you go anywhere. But it's a possibility. Don't think I want to go down the trailer route, but I might have to. I've probably not got a huge amount of room to store a trailer either. It would have to be a very small purpose-built trailer almost. But there is one other sort of thought process in my head which may or may not work. The width of the car I know will fit into the back of my estate car. I think it's too long. That may not be a problem if I could take the rear cowl off and leave some space there. It may also be slightly high. Again, taking the rear cowl off would solve some of that. Also, so would putting smaller wheels on it just to get it in and out of the car. And that would shorten the rear overhang and the front overhang. Similarly, we might need to take the front cowl off, I don't know. But the first thing to do, I think, is to see whether or not it's even a vague possibility. Because if it means that I could do that by making the whole thing 2 inches shorter, for example, I would do it in a heartbeat. If it's just a total lost cause from now, in that case I will start to think how on earth I'm going to move the thing around. But let's just go and have a look in the car. I think the answer to that is no, not quite. Really quite close. It's possible though, it's possible I suppose. That's, I say I might need to put some small slave wheels on the front and back to both lower it and make it easier to get in and out. And that will shorten the front overhang a bit as well. I think that's all it guess really it all depends on the engine as to whether or not I can get that in the right position far enough forward. There's only about that much left. So that is something to think about once I've got a chassis made, I think. I haven't got a trailer, but I might well end up buying one, a second-hand one that I can do something with to make it right. In the short term I can hire a van for a day or two every time we want to go anywhere to try the thing out, but of course that again brings in a fairly hefty cost every time you want to hire a van. So the trailer may be the option, and that will also then solve the final problem, which is not only where do I put it when I'm working on it, but where do I put it when it's finished. And there isn't really room to have it lying around. It won't fit in the garage, or it may be able to fit in the garage, we'll see, but generally it's not an ideal solution. But if I've got a small trailer with a cover on it, it does mean I can put it on that, on the drive, and the thing will be put away fine. I'm also going to investigate these storage units as well. I've got to store the Ferrari replica when it comes back. I don't want to end up with putting it under a cover again and ruining all the paint like I did last time. So that's going to be something I'll need, and if I'm getting something like a container to put it in, it may be I can sneak the cycle car in with it as well. But I think the garage is the biggest key to all of this, both for short-term storage and being able to work on it. Right, so sorry if that's been a bit of a scrappy one, because this has sort of happened over a period of a few weeks during the initial planning stages of this cycle cart. So one day I've thought about something, another day I've thought about something else, but in essence I haven't got room to build a cycle cart, and I'm going to try and make that room out of putting a staging over the three-wheeler trike in the garage. And similarly I haven't got anywhere to store it when it's finished, and that again may be a combination of either getting some sort of hoisting mechanism and getting it over the top of the trike, or getting a separate garage, which I'll need at some point for the 355 replica when it comes back home. And I'm sure there are plenty of other solutions, and maybe even it will fit in with the trailer solution as well. Similarly, transporting it. In the short term it's not a problem. I can hire a van relatively simply without too much expense, but I don't want it to become a permanent sort of thing I've got to do every time I want to run the cycle cart anywhere. So a trailer may well suit all of those circumstances. It'll give me somewhere to store it when I'm not using it, and even when I'm working on it, it means you can just pop it out the trailer, do a bit of work on it on the drive almost. And I'm pretty much inclined to go down that route. I think something that's come up when I've been thinking about the bodywork solutions is a material that may well solve the trailer cladding as well. So I'm going to go off and have a look at that at some point in the next week or so, and that may well be the way I go with that, to build the cover on some wheels that will become the trailer and will become the cover. So I hope it was of interest. It brings you up to date with where we are at the moment with the cycle cart. I'll be doing something different next week, I'm sure, and I look forward to seeing you then. Bye.